Hey guys, it's Snailbiter, and I wanted to try something slightly different with this video. Obviously, this is a replay with the WZ-111 5A on Fjords, but I've actually got a second replay with the 5A from the same spot on Fjords, which I wanted to show you guys as well, because while I do the same exact thing at the start of each of these replays, I end up flexing differently in each game based on how they both progress, and so I essentially wanted to try to compare the two replays to highlight my thought process in each that leads me to do things differently in the second replay from the first replay. So I'm hoping that by instead of just showing one replay doing it, this way we'll make it more clear what is impacting my decision making across each game. The other part of this is that I wanted to show in this video also why the 5A is, in my opinion, one of the best tier 10s in the game. Obviously, even if you can read what's going on in the game and what you need to do perfectly, you're always going to be limited by what tank you're playing, and so part of the reason I think I'm able to be successful in each of these games is because the 5A is such a strong tank, and more specifically because it's such a versatile tank. So hopefully that will also come across in this video. So looking at this first replay, this is just a standard 3-5-7 matchup with only 3 tier 10s on each side, and for each team one of those tier 10s is an arty. So in a matchup like this, the tier 10s carry a lot of weight. Now, the enemy team has a Type 5 Heavy and a JPZ, while my team has me in the 5A and an E4. So just taking that into consideration, the enemy tier 10s are much heavier than us and would probably have an advantage in a straight-up brawl against me in the E4. Now, the usual play for heavier tanks on this map is to go south toward the peninsula, and since I definitely want to avoid dealing with the Type 5 and JPZ, particularly the Type 5, unless I have to, I know that I don't want to go south at the start of the game, which is fine for me because generally when I'm playing this map from the east spawn, my default play is to go to that rock around E7 in the middle of the map. That's what I almost always do whenever I'm playing a medium tank or light tank on this map from the spawn, because if you have enough speed to get to that position early enough, you can often spot tanks that the enemy team is sending to the F4, F5 area, and it's also a great way of getting some early shots of damage off with pretty minimal risk to yourself. Now, even though the 5A is technically designated as a heavy tank, it's really more of a hybrid heavy-medium tank because it's got great mobility, which allows you to flex around the map almost the same as you would with any other med. So because of that, I'm going to play it at the start of this game essentially as if it were a medium tank and go to that position at E7 because it has the speed to get there in time to both light enemy tanks crossing to F4 and to even get some early shots of damage off. So that's going to be my opening play here. Now, as I mentioned before, in a matchup like this, the tier 10s carry a lot of weight, and a tank like the 5A in particular is great at bullying lower tier tanks. So what I want to do in this game is to try to get some early damage off of that spot at E7 while each team is getting into position, and then once I know where the enemy Type 5 and JPZ are, I can just avoid them and push an area where the enemy team is weak and has more lower tiers. And like I mentioned before, I'm expecting that both of them will go south. So my initial thinking is that I'll probably end up pushing the middle of this map at some point. So I make it up to this bush in E7, and I'm pre-aiming toward D4 to make sure that I'm ready to shoot as soon as I peek out. And a moment after I get set up here, an Indian Panzer tries to cross the D line through D4. And you'll notice there that I waited to shoot him until he was behind that bush there. And because of that, I actually didn't even get lit when I took that first shot. I put a second shot into that 111-1-4, but I think I may have taken that shot a bit too soon. So I do end up getting lit there. Now, I'm trying to wiggle back and forth and use this rock as cover until I get de-lit. And the arty still manages to splash me around the rock for 200 damage. So, I mean, I think I maybe could have hugged the rock a bit better, but there's not a ton that I can do about that. But regardless, I still want to just sort of sit in this bush and maintain vision through this area of the map and try to keep getting shots of damage off where I can. Obviously, neither the JPZ or Type 5 has been lit yet, so I still want to wait and see what happens with those two tanks. One thing you do have to be careful of, though, when you're playing this position is once you get a few minutes into the game, if the enemy pushes far enough forward in the south, there's an angle where the tanks in the J5 or so can actually shoot your back. So in addition to watching the D-line, I also want to keep an eye on what's going on in the south, both to see if I can help my teammates out as the enemy pushes forward, but also to make sure that none of the enemy tanks are looking to try to get shots in my direction. So you can see that at this point I start scanning back and forth between these two angles a little bit, I put a shot into that Scorpion G, and again there you'll notice that I didn't actually get lit even when I took that shot. And then I turn back toward the south, and I'm actually able to loop a shot into that T-34. And this is what's so great about this position, because from this spot I can cover 2 different areas of the map, and it gives me a lot of chances to get shots off and do damage. The one danger is that at this point in the game, like I mentioned before, if I do get lit, I'm completely exposed to anything in J5. So right there, the T-54 on the enemy team pushes up a little bit closer to my position, and I'm not able to shoot him without getting lit. And even though I'm aware of the possibility that something could shoot me from J5, as it turns out, the enemy Type 5 was actually down there unlit, and so he's able to hit me with his derp gun and do 600 damage to me. Now, at this point, I probably should have relocated because I've already lost 900 HP, and there's a good chance that if I get lit again in this position, I'll get shot again. But I actually decided to stick around a little bit longer and take another shot, which was pretty risky of me. But fortunately, since the T-54 was just jiggle peeking that corner, I was able to actually time my shot so that he wasn't able to light me. I'm actually just going to pause the replay here briefly because once I take that shot on the 111-14 in the south, I know that I definitely need to change my position. You can already see that I have started to drive away from that rock. But at the same time that happens, that I make that decision to relocate, the enemy JPZ, you can see on the minimap, finally gets lit for the first time in F3. So now I know the location of both of the enemy tier 10s, and I know that the safer way for me to push is going to be through the middle of the map, like I was thinking at the beginning of the game. Now, even though I've lost a decent amount of HP to this point, because I've done so much damage to the enemy tanks in that E4 area, it should be pretty straightforward for me to just drive down the D line and clean them up, especially with the defender pressuring them from F4. So you'll see here, as soon as I notice that the enemy JPZ has been lit in F3, I immediately start to push toward the D line to pinch his tanks in E4. Now, obviously, I want to try to minimize the amount of HP I lose here, so I do want to prioritize shooting low HP tanks. So as I round the corner here, initially I'm pre-aiming toward that stir, but once I see the Scorpion get lit to my left, I flick to him and take him out to prevent him from shooting me. Then the defender shoots the stir, so now the stir is a one-shot for me and I take him out as well. I wasn't sure, I wanted to check briefly there to see which way the Proto was facing before I rushed the WZ-111-4. And unfortunately the WZ is able to get a shot into me. I was hoping to angle my armor and get a bounce, but regardless, just like that, we got 3 or 4 quick kills in a row, and now my team has control of the middle of the map, and we have tanks pushing from the north, so from this point, it should be pretty easy to just take out this 1390 and T-28 Proto, and then wrap around to the south and secure the game. So the rest of this replay is really just me trying to farm as much damage as possible. Even though I don't have a ton of HP left, I'm still going to be pretty aggressive because I want to try to maximize what I get out of this battle. So I'm just going to push straight into this Proto, even though the safer thing to do would probably be to wait for my teammates to distract him. I tried taking a quick snapshot at him because I was hoping to actually kill him before he'd be able to get a shot off on me. But unfortunately my shot derped and hit the ridge, so I ended up losing about half my remaining HP there. And now with only 400 HP left, I'm pretty much a one-shot for anything left on the enemy team, so I mean, I kind of have to be careful here because I need to make sure that I basically just don't get shot the rest of the game. And especially now, looking at the minimap, it looks like that enemy WZ is actually turning around to engage me and the other tanks on my team that are pushing the enemy base, so I don't want to just keep driving straight forward and engage him because, you know, if he has the top gun for that tank, then he could one-shot me easily if he pens me. I did set up there briefly to see if I could get a shot into him. I was hoping that as he rounded that corner that he might be a little bit exposed, and so I'd be able to get a free shot into him before he was really prepared to actually shoot back. But once I saw him get lit and the fact that he really wasn't all that exposed, I just took a quick shot anyway, knowing that it probably wouldn't pen, and then backed up behind the building. I got kind of lucky there. I was searching for his shot again, and I thought I was hull down to him so that he wouldn't be able to pen me. But I wasn't really paying attention to how I was angled, so I think he actually ended up penning my side armor there. But luckily for me, as it turns out, he didn't have the top gun, so instead of killing me, he leaves me on about 70 HP. Then it looks like my teammates pushing through the F line were actually able to move far enough forward to get some flank shots on him and take him out, so that gives me the chance to move forward again. That T-34 gets lit, so I'm trying to check to see which way he's facing as I'm moving up. And I see that his turret is turned, so I decided to just push past him. It's just a bit risky, but I'm pretty confident here that I'll be able to reload before he actually can traverse around to shoot me. And as it turns out, the Patton gets the kill, so it doesn't even really end up being a factor. Now it's easy for me to just flank this JPZ and get a shot into him. And the JPZ gets taken out, and then the RD comes around the corner right as I reload, and so I'm able to take him out as well. And now it's just a Type 5 left. So that's pretty much the end of this replay. Actually, right here, I wasn't totally sure whether or not the Type 5 could have gone up the 5 line into the city. So you'll see here, I decided to be a bit cautious, and I just hold this angle for a moment until the Type 5 gets lit, just to make sure that I don't get caught off guard. I don't want to randomly drive into him and get myself killed here at the end of the game. But there, once I see the Type 5 get lit in J5, it's just a matter of flanking around and finishing him off. So I'll fast forward a little bit here as I move up. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. I think what I'm actually going to do at this point is, because this video is already a bit long, I'm going to split this up into 2 videos. I ended up talking a bit more at the start of this commentary than I initially planned, so I think I'll just post this part first, and then once I've uploaded the second part, I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. So definitely go check that out once it's uploaded. But anyway, that's just about it for this replay. It's taking a little while for me and my teammates to work down this Type 5, which I think was actually at full HP before we started to engage him. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, I find Type 5s just a major pain in the ass to deal with because of both how much HP they have and the fact that they have a derp gun. So there we finally able to take him out. I actually got 3 shots into him, so I was able to farm a little bit more damage off him. But there's the end of this replay, and now I'll quickly show you guys the post-game stats. I ended up with just under 9k damage this game, although it actually wasn't an ace tanker. I think probably because, other than those few shots I put into the Type 5 at the very end of the game, I was shooting lower tier tanks pretty much the entire time. So still a really good game with a 5A, and hopefully this video gave you a sense of some of my thought process and decision making, particularly in those first 4 to 5 minutes of the game, because that's what I really wanted to focus on for this replay. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.